Park, do you have any questions for the Kim, or perhaps about a company working hard on on-device AI?
For example, GPU and NVIDIA have become completely branded, but on-device AI still doesn't have a strong player. So DeepX targeted this niche market, and to me, it's like I should really support this. It really inspires that kind of feeling. Since there's no monopoly yet, does DeepX have a strategy to become the dominant player like NVIDIA?
As I mentioned earlier, this field is inevitably a world of low power. The reason I looked into on-device is that I see it running parallel to the history of CPUs. In the 1970s, mainframes appeared and dozens of bank clerks shared supercomputers. Then in the 80s, PCs came out and Intel chips exploded onto the scene. If we look at the transition to the smartphone era, I think NVIDIA is currently dominating the shift from mainframe to PC, just like Intel CPUs did. Back in 1994, there were numerous CPU challenges too. But suddenly for cell phone CPUs, a barren land at the time, a small British startup called ARM opened the mobile era. Intel couldn't enter this market at all, which is the root cause of their current difficulties. They were completely excluded from the mobile era. This was because their CPUs had no way to achieve low power. Seeing this point, I wondered, will people prefer NPUs over CPUs? Will people like AI more than computers? I thought they would. Then what will happen to the value of AI chips versus CPUs? Eventually, I believe AI chips will become stronger than what is needed. Low power technology. We needed to be overwhelming in power efficiency and heat efficiency, just like ARM. The butter demo was created to visualize that association. Visually, butter that melts even in your hand doesn't melt on our chip. Second, there were mobile communication chips made by Qualcomm. Qualcomm was actually a very small startup back then. They weren't big enough to manufacture and release chips alone, so they needed cooperation. They wrote 7 concept patents and commercialized CDMA through technical cooperation. Later in court, it was a battle between those concept patents and 4,000 implementation patents over who really owned CDMA. Qualcomm won. They became a global company by receiving astronomical royalties. They even won a $30 billion lawsuit against Apple about 5 years ago. So I see the winning formula as exactly 2 things. Ultra-low power AI semiconductors and holding the most original technology patents. That's why I've surpassed 400 patents. We have more NPU-related patents than Qualcomm, Intel, AMD, ARM, and NVIDIA. A Forbes survey also confirmed this regarding US registered patents. We have more than those 4 companies. If we are a player in the on-device era starting with these 2 assets, what are the odds of winning? This is the outcome I want to secure by avoiding failure.
Then moving on to the second point, we are transitioning from the agentic AI era to the physical AI era. What should Korea do to take the lead here?
The future of a declining labor force is already confirmed for us. However, since the top 2 nations, US, China, are preparing for unmanned manufacturing, I believe our future lies there as well. If we do physical AI well and quickly bring about AI transformation in our existing manufacturing industries, I think it's possible. Taiwan has manufacturing, but it's mostly IT manufacturing. Do they have shipbuilding, steel, automobiles? Have they done home appliances? We have done this for decades, competing with global rivals like China and surviving as a manufacturing powerhouse between Japan and China. We are ranked 4th in manufacturing competitiveness. If we can quickly transform in this physical AI era, we might have more ways to accelerate towards unmanned manufacturing. The US lacks SCM, supply chain management, but we have it. We used to do offshoring due to high labor costs, but that's becoming less necessary. Because I see this future, I am working very hard with Hyundai Robotics Labs on physical AI robots and commercial robots. POSCO DX also aims to make their factories 100% unmanned. They have a strong will to liberate humans from truly dangerous labor environments. I think it would be great if we could achieve AI transformation across all these diverse industries, and I've been developing original on-device semiconductor technology for 10 years to achieve that.
I agree. The success of physical AI ultimately depends on how we can supply high-quality data from the physical world. That is the key. So no matter how much Taiwan builds AI factory hardware, they can't do it without the data.
They might simulate AI models, but I don't think they can seize the hegemony of the manufacturing industry. It would be difficult for a single country's capacity to extract all that data without the industrial base.
That's why we have KAMP, the world's first private sector-led manufacturing specialized AI platform.
And the reason I think Korea is good at this is not because we invented all the original technologies, but because we are a country that integrates those technologies well to produce manufacturing quality at the global #1 level. When I was in the US, I saw that Samsung, LG, and Hyundai had very unique characteristics. Samsung Electronics' manufacturing ability was so unique. Can this be replaced? Can SK Hynix be replaced? By other countries, it seemed difficult. LG is also involved in various factories and industries. Looking at all our major conglomerates, these manufacturing capabilities are irreplaceable. If Silicon Valley wants to sanction something, where can they find a replacement excluding these companies? There might be cheaper options with price competitiveness, sure, but when considering manufacturing quality, we're in a state where we cannot be excluded. In a way, Korean industry holds this manufacturing quality and know-how as leverage. If we quickly master AI transformation here, I see a possibility of taking the lead.
That's how we see it. For example, recently Micron is making HBM, but SK Hynix stacks it vertically and punches through at once, whereas Micron is still punching through one sheet at a time. That's the current difference, right?
The reason shipbuilding is doing well is also because of good manufacturing quality. Everything in OEM, ODM that requires high quality or high capacity is almost entirely dependent on Korea right now. I believe we have sufficient potential.
Then what strategy do you think is necessary for DeepX to become a global AI semiconductor company?
There were two success formulas for a small startup to become a global system semiconductor company. I decided I must have both. I think we are almost at the achievement stage given the patent race, but I think it's hard to become a global tier player just with technology. Breathing within the global market and integrating with customers is most important. So even after founding the company, I had a handicap, but I was confident about the technology. I knew we could definitely be #1 in ultra-low power. So from the second year after founding, I met with 200 to 300 companies. Even before the chip was out, I asked, "We are making this chip. What application are you building?" I learned a lot of technical requirements, and we go to all the major events, CES, Computex, MWC, Embedded World in Europe, Electronica, about 15 to 20 events a year. We go to all of them. We received 3 CES awards. This year we have a must-see booth. I don't think a startup has ever been mentioned first for this. Then Computex. Korean conglomerates didn't go much, but this is actually the holy land of AI semiconductors. CEOs of AMD, Intel, Qualcomm, and NVIDIA all come to give keynotes. It's a fiercely competitive arena for AI semiconductors. We've been participating there for 3-4 years. Around 2023, among 400 competing companies, we won the Innovation Award at Computex 2, and DigiTimes, a prominent electronics media outlet, featured Jensen Huang on the front page and DeepX and me on the second page. The theme was the current AI leader versus the future AI chip leader.
I included that story in my book, AI Top 3 Powerhouse.
When we travel to different countries, we act like a local company. At CES, since we have a US branch, we act like a US company. Localization is essential. We have to understand customers well, provide technical support, promote and build project business models. By doing this constantly, we were recognized. A company that hasn't even mass-produced chips yet had its samples evaluated by 300 global companies. We reflected all that into our tech development roadmap, and we write letters of apology to customers. This technology is definitely recognized, but we will give you the roadmap by this time, so please wait. In this way, we currently have about 50 projects heading towards mass production. We are working hard.
You were at global systems semiconductor fabless companies like Broadcom, Cisco, and Apple. What do you think is the unique value that differentiates them from other players in the industry?
If we prepare by studying hard to raise our test scores, for foreign companies making system chips, it feels like they memorize the answer key before taking the test. You can't get even one wrong. It has to be zero defects. It shouldn't be, let's produce good quality. It has to be flawless. The reason memory industry did well, memory replicates one cell billions of times. To make one memory cell, if there are physical parameters, instead of studying the logic, which takes too long, we run permutations to manufacture it and select the ones with good characteristics. It works because it's about, can we manufacture one unit well? If memory is like Beethoven with many rounds, cannons, system semiconductors are like Mozart. Nothing is the same from start to finish. PLL, CPU, GPU, memory controller, bus. Everything is different but must be put on one plate and operate organically. For this, rationalism is very important. Logical dialogue must be possible because we have to align specs across all parts in this non-repetitive structure. And there is a culture of verifying, is this the correct answer? We tend to say, let's work hard and improve quality, which works in manufacturing but not in system semiconductors. This part is different. Broadcom being good at comms, Apple having good transmission efficiency, it's because they bring the correct answer data that no one can deny. Data-driven decision. Because of this, it's hard for anyone to easily catch up.
Lastly, what is DeepX's vision to become a global leading company?
The Samsung 2nm semiconductor product we are preparing is called DXM2. As generative AI rises, the value of this chip increases. First, the physical AI era will come. Second, we see that by 2027, we won't be able to just build data centers freely because power is insufficient. Nuclear plants take 7, 10 years. Data centers take 3 years, so the capacity isn't easy to secure. For example, 2 years ago, GPU power usage was higher than South Africa's. Last year it was France, this year it's Germany. It keeps rising. Can we increase it infinitely? No. To solve these two things, we do it on device. Our DXM2 is the chip designed to run generative AI and agent AI. And I want it to be a chip under 5 watts. If it's under 5W, it can go into almost any application. If it's 40W or 100W, it can only go into big machines. I plan to run a semi-AGI level model, 100B parameters, on our chip. Up to 20B is natively supported. If we can run this, 80% of traffic currently going to data centers won't need to go. There aren't that many questions requiring a world hash, one superintelligence. PhD level questions can be answered on device. Then, practically, we are virtually constructing 5 times the AI computing power of the entire Earth with our small chips. We can solve the excessive billing of data centers, power issues, environmental issues, and enable the physical AI transformation we need. The only key to go under 5W was the Samsung 2nm GAA. Since this puzzle piece fit at this time, I am very excited about it.
Kim, I imagine you might have some questions for the park as well. Would you be willing to share your thoughts?
I have 2 points. As I mentioned, our manufacturing diversity is unique and our quality is global top tier. Using this as collateral, AI transformation could succeed, but it's not easy for one company to do alone. So, I would appreciate your advice on what specific role the government or the state can play here. Secondly, given your deep insights into the path toward becoming an AI top 3 powerhouse, could you please share your wisdom on what is required to achieve that goal?
If I were to set the agenda, my first priority would be vertical AI, specifically an industry specialized strategy. We should leverage the sectors where we are already strong: shipbuilding, semiconductors, bio, and telecommunications. The key question is how to converge these sectors with AI to construct a vertically tailored infrastructure platform. For example, if Korea establishes a vertical AI platform for shipbuilding, we can export that model, right? Secondly, with all this talk about sovereign AI, the one thing we absolutely cannot yield is our defense data. We build a sovereign AI specifically for defense. Take Palantir, for example. In reality, that is America's defense AI. It is effectively their version of sovereign AI. I believe we are fully capable of doing the same. Now, securing computing power to become an AI top 3 nation and accelerating AX are already established strategies the government is pursuing. But if I had to pick just one priority, it would be fostering a development ecosystem for domestic AI chips. We need to expand POC opportunities, and the government must help create market references. That is how we nurture our domestic chips. We must focus intensively on this strategy. Specifically, the next 3 years. As I emphasized earlier, this is the defining period that will determine our national standing and the very structure of the AI industry. Therefore, we must seize this market. To capture this market, we must foster our domestic AI semiconductor ecosystem, expand POC verifications, and reduce our reliance on GPUs. So we must plant made in Korea in AI semiconductors.
Manufacturing, AI, semiconductors, they are needed for vertical integration, but also mutually helpful.
Back when TSMC was in its early growth phase, they heavily supported companies like Realtek and MediaTek. In fact, TSMC's support enabled even Nvidia to stage a turnaround during a crisis. However, even if I approach Samsung Foundry and offer to play that same pivotal role, it is difficult to simply ask for support. This is where I hope the state can play a pump priming role. Honestly, had the world's second largest foundry, Samsung, not been located here, I likely would not have founded my company in my home country. Without that asset, securing a winning point is extremely difficult. However, I identified 2 advantages. First, the world's second largest foundry is located right here in my homeland. Second, we have global manufacturing giants, our domestic conglomerates. They will inevitably require on-device AI chips in the future, so I saw them as prospective customers and was certain of the demand. I returned to this barren land simply because it is my country. We must revitalize this foundation and secure its future. We really need to pay close attention to this. Support for the fabless sector seems heavily skewed toward manufacturing equipment. Isn't it time to broaden that scope?
That sounds like a genuine answer from the field regarding the AI top 3 powerhouse vision you outlined. Park, is there anything you feel was left unsaid, or any final points you would like to add?
Now that the current administration has passed its 100-day mark and established the National AI Strategy Committee, so AI for what? As I mentioned, we need to clarify exactly where we are steering the entire nation. If we communicate this vision effectively, the public will get excited and rally behind us. They need to understand the goal to fully engage. I would like to see much more clarity. We need distinct goals. For instance, declaring that we will strengthen industry-specific manufacturing AI, or focus AI convergence on sectors like semiconductors, telecommunications, bio, and shipbuilding. Now the strategy lacks detail.
I suppose your past experience in office gives you that perspective. Kim, do you have any further comments?
To summarize, as I see it, our major competitors, the US, China, Taiwan, and Japan, are all pursuing specific AI-based objectives. So, if Korea establishes its own unique objective and secures a pivotal role within the global landscape, I believe we can become a powerful nation, ranking in the global top 5, or even becoming an AI top 3 powerhouse. However, as you mentioned, the landscape changes drastically every single year. The pace of AI development is simply on another level. From my perspective, the landscape doesn't just change yearly, it shifts every 3 months, every week, and now every single day. Given this velocity, if our entire industry can find a focal point and unite tightly, I believe we have a genuine opportunity to achieve a monumental leap forward.
As you envisioned, I hope we can lay the groundwork to enter the top 5 and ultimately rise to become an AI top 3 powerhouse. Thank you for joining us for this extensive discussion. Please show your support for the Park's new book, AI Top 3 Powerhouse. Her previous works, such as Semiconductor Sovereign Nation and War of the Gods, are also highly significant parts of her trilogy. As for DeepX, if we join you at CES next year, we look forward to showcasing your active role on the global stage once again.
We will prove it not just at CES, but through revenue and market dominance.
감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다.